Yo, what's going on, y'all? This Combo Breaker 99 back on the fight front once again. As you know, Keith Thurman, he had a choice of words when he was asked about Terrence Crawford after the the Fox PBC presser last week. All in all, he said that he feels he can't respect Terrence Crawford as a true welterweight. He respects him as a fighter, but not a true welterweight. Now, first, I feel as a fighter you may be potentially facing, you have to show respect to that fighter, especially when that fighter has made more of a statement in the past 2 years than you have. You know what I'm saying? Crawford's made more of a statement than Thurman has in the past 2 years. You know what I mean? You can disagree with or agree with that. But as a fighter like Terrence Crawford, who steps up in weight, fights a true welterweight, you know, a guy like Jeff Horn. Of course, Thurman kind of discredited the win, said he didn't stop him in dominant fashion. Whether you believe Jeff Horn is solid or not as an opponent, what Bud was able to do, basically win a belt in dominating fashion, to me, again, you have to respect that. You know, to build up potential fights against better champions, he came in there, showed that he could take on your average champion, get a stoppage win to set up the bigger fights. Because Thurman, he already knows this. Crawford is just making business moves. You know, this is still a business. So to kick up a storm at welterweight, you got to go in there, put all eyes on you, make people want to size you up against the best, make you size you up against the beast. You know, they want to say, oh man, this guy moved up from 140. He just beat Jeff Horn, and he wants somebody like Spence. But if he just came in the game at 147, you know, people would be like, I don't think he could take Spence. But as long as he beats somebody like Jeff Horn and maybe beats a few other welterweights, people are going to start sizing Spence and Crawford up. You know, like I said, this is a business, so moves have to be made. So that's where I kind of disagree with Keith Thurman on that. And then to say that somebody like Bud hasn't faced guys like Amir Khan. Now, I don't know if he means Amir Khan of 2015 or Amir Khan now, but to me, what threat would a guy like Khan be to Bud now? You know, Khan, he's a name in the UK and somewhat here, but outside of that, I don't really see him being a challenge. And, you know, it's kind of a no-win situation if we're talking about legacy for Bud. I mean, money, yeah, it could be big. And I can't lie, style-wise, it would have been a fight I would have liked to see. You know, I think it would have been a cool money grab for Crawford, but Khan isn't really a test for Crawford right now. Maybe pre-Canelo, but not now. You know, I think Bud already kind of I think Bud is taking on tougher competition at 140. The guys at 140 kind of posted a potential threat more than what Khan could have given him now. You know, because if Bud beat Khan now, people would just say, oh, he already been knocked out before. He been knocked out by Garcia. He been knocked out by Canelo. So why would Bud want to take that fight? So I feel like what Bud was doing at 140 was making more of a statement. And now to call out challenges at 147, like, you know, like a guy like Spence, or, you know, even go for guys like Porter or Thurman or Garcia, you know, that would make more sense and put more of respect on his name. And let's be real, right now, Bud, you know, he's actually putting himself in more of a position to fight the biggest threat at 147 than Thurman is, which is Errol Spence. I mean, if you look at the Fox PBC presser, Spence kind of voiced his opinion on Thurman and didn't really show him no respect. He said, you know, I probably won't be able to fight for Thurman's belt until he retires. You know, and Thurman, he just kind of came back and didn't say much, but, you know, he was still showing way too much respect to Spence, to me. That makes me even want to show that he wants to fight him. You know, he didn't have any words for Spence's resume. You know, he just kind of brushed it off and then went off talking about what he usually talks about. But a few days ago, Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, they actually, you know, talked face to face. They had their friendly little competitive altercation, you know, with Bob Arum out there too. So it's kind of showing you that this fight is closer to happening than Thurman Spence right now. You know, Crawford and Spence, they actually show interest. You know, they're actually talking trash to each other. You know, they're actually showing you that, hey, this fight could potentially happen sometime in 2019. You know, if Spence gets past Mikey Garcia, which I think he will. But, you know, fans, they're already kind of going in online. You know, media's going in online. They're sizing these two up. They're reading into the little exchanges. You know, they're kind of writing Thurman completely out of the picture against Errol Spence. So even when Thurman is talking about, you know, coming back against Josito Lopez, he's not showing any interest in fighting somebody like Errol Spence. You know, he's even talking about fighting Porter again, trying to get that belt back, then potentially fighting Spence somewhere down the line as the final belt that, you know, he wants to get, which means that fight, like he said, probably won't happen till 2020. And again, even before the Spence fight, he's actually talking about fighting Manny. But Manny has his goals set. You know, Manny wants this Adrian Broner fight in January, which he has set. And then he's going off to try to get his potential rematch with Floyd. So Manny's already got his lineup. But, you know, Thurman, his lineup is still not really set. You know, we got the tune-up fight with Josito Lopez, but he's not really talking about, you know, full-on undisputed, full-on undisputed goals yet. So, again, like I said, looking at Crawford, he could potentially get Spence if Spence gets past Mikey in March. That's how fast their collision course could be. They could actually fight. I think their fight could be made by the end of 2019. You know, Crawford might fight somebody else at the beginning of 2019 around the time frame Errol Spence fights Garcia. And by the end of the year, with all this little, this little talk they had and people sizing them up, Bob Arum and Al Heyman, they might actually come to a deal where this fight actually happens at the end of 2019. So I think, that's a better move for, that's a respectful move for Crawford. You got to respect that. But looking back at Keith, Keith, he kind of thinks really highly of himself where he's in like a Floyd Mayweather position. And I know at the end of that little statement he made to Spence about the fight potentially happening, he was like, I'm no Floyd Mayweather. That's right, because he's only done a fraction of what Floyd's done. But he feels like he hit his peak after a unification fight. You have yet to hit a peak. I mean, that's just part of the mountaintop. Defending them belts, that's your peak. And getting that last belt, that's your peak. To me, it is, if you really want to prove you have legacy. But looking at his 2 championship fights, those were 2 close-ass fights, in a lot of people's eyes. So now he kind of feels like he's in a Mayweather position. But if you think about it, he's actually just one step ahead of Crawford, to me, even at welterweight. Because, like I said, Crawford's going to be catching up to him. So I just feel like he's just one step ahead of Crawford as a welterweight. Both of these guys are in the same era. Both of these guys haven't really dominated the division. Like I said, Thurman's had close fights with Porter and Garcia. He didn't blow through these guys. They were competitive fights for him. So he's actually just a few steps, maybe 1 or 2 steps ahead of Crawford as a welterweight. Especially after taking 2 years off, you have to go back and reestablish some of the things you did now. So as a whole, Bud has actually done more as a pound-for-pound fighter. He's a multi-division champion. So actually, Thurman, he should be talking him up a little bit. To me, Thurman should be trying to seek a fight with the pound-for-pound king, whether or not he is a true welterweight. You should be trying to put a name like this on your resume. So Thurman, he has to remember his legacy isn't solidified either. And for Crawford, he doesn't need respect from Thurman. Now, I'm a fan of Thurman, like as a fighter, of what he was doing before. But as far as the moves he's making now, not so much. But this has to be the year to prove something even more so than Crawford. He has something more so to prove than Crawford does at welterweight. Because right now, I might probably do a video on this, down the line pretty soon. I just think that the welterweight division's #1 spot is vacant. I think it is vacant. There's a lot of good fighters, but we still don't know who's the #1 guy. So for him to say he doesn't respect Crawford as a true welterweight, I gotta say I disagree with that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section on this one, man. Like, do you think Terrence Crawford's not a true welterweight, and does Thurman's word hold any weight on that? Should we even take to heart what he says? But again, that's just my opinion. Make sure you guys subscribe, Combo Breaker 99. Also subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Jab Effect. Go to iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud. Type in #Jab Podcast. You can subscribe to a podcast with Boxing P on there. We talk anything and everything boxing. Again, this is Combo Breaker 99. Subscribe. I'm out. Peace.